My parents were throwing a lavish party on their newly renovated Italian stone patio. I stood there in my thrift store clothes, exhausted from working double shifts. Then my wealthy grandfather arrived and asked me a simple question that stopped the music. "Chloe, do you like the new Victorian house I sent your father $400,000 to buy for you?" The entire party went silent. I looked at him and said, "Grandpa, what house?" "I live in a studio with roaches." My parents turned ghost white. They had stolen my money to fund their luxury lifestyle. They thought they got away with it. But Grandpa wasn't just angry. He was about to destroy them. The smell of barbecue ribs filled the backyard, but all I could smell was the exhaust fumes from my 20-year-old Honda Civic that I had just parked in the driveway. I walked into my parents' backyard, adjusting my skirt. I felt out of place. My parents, Dave and Linda, were throwing a summer solstice party. They had recently renovated their patio with Italian stone, bought a new massive grill, and were currently sipping cocktails with their wealthy friends. I, on the other hand, had just come from a 10-hour shift at a warehouse. I was wearing a dress I bought at a thrift store. I lived in a studio apartment the size of a shoebox with a window that wouldn't close. "Chloe," Mom chirped, rushing over to me. She kissed my cheek, her diamond earrings catching the light. "You made it. Try the crab cakes. They are divine." "Hi, Mom," I said tiredly. "Place looks great." "Oh, thank you," she beamed. "We're finally getting the lifestyle we deserve." I grabbed a soda and stood in the corner, trying to avoid questions about why I wasn't using my degree. The job market just sucked. Then, the gate opened. A silver Bentley pulled up. It was Grandpa Edward, my dad's father. He was a retired real estate mogul, worth millions, but he was down to earth and kind. He hadn't seen us in 2 years because he had been living in Europe for his health. "Grandpa," I shouted, genuinely happy for the first time that day. I ran over and hugged him. "Chloe, my dear." He hugged me back tightly. "Look at you. You look thin. Are you eating enough?" "I'm fine, Grandpa," I lied. "Just working hard." He pulled back and looked at me with a twinkle in his eye. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I thought it was jewelry. "I missed your birthday last month," he said. "But I assumed the big gift made up for it." "The big gift?" I asked, confused. "The house," Grandpa boomed, his voice carrying over the music. "The Victorian on Elm Street. I wired your father $400,000 3 months ago. He told me he found you the perfect starter home and that you were moving in last week." The music seemed to stop. The chatter died down. I stared at him. "What?" "The house," Grandpa repeated, smiling. "Did you like the kitchen? Your dad said you loved the bay windows." My stomach dropped. I looked at my parents. My father, Dave, had turned a shade of grey I didn't know existed. My mother dropped her crab cake on the Italian stone. They were frozen. "Grandpa," I said slowly, my voice shaking, "I don't have a house. I live in a studio apartment behind a laundromat. My rent is late." Grandpa's smile faded instantly. He looked at me, then he slowly turned his head to look at his son. "Dave," Grandpa said, his voice low and dangerous. "Where is the house?" "Dad, let's not talk business at a party." My father stammered, sweating profusely. "Chloe is confused. She's joking. You know her sense of humor." "I'm not joking," I said, stepping closer to my parents. "You told Grandpa you bought me a house. With his money. It's a surprise." Mom shrieked, her laugh sounding manic. "We were saving it. It's not ready yet. It needed paint." "Yes, paint." "Paint takes 3 months," Grandpa asked. He wasn't buying it. "It's a big house," Dad yelled. "Look, let's just eat ribs and—" "Get in the car," Grandpa interrupted. "What?" Dad blinked. We are going to Elm Street, Grandpa said, clutching his cane. Right now. I want to see this house. I want to see Chloe's name on the deed. And if I don't single quotes double quotes, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. My parents looked at each other. Panic was written all over their faces. They were trapped. I'll drive, I said, pulling out my keys. The car ride to Elm Street was the longest 20 minutes of my life. My father drove, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. My mother sat in the passenger seat, furiously texting someone, probably her lawyer or a miracle worker. Grandpa Edward sat in the back with me, staring out the window, his silence heavier than any scream. Dad, my father tried, his voice cracking. You have to understand, the housing market is volatile. We put a bid in, but there were complications. Inspections. Termites. Termites, Grandpa repeated flatly. So you didn't buy the house? We are in the process, Mom chimed in, turning around with a desperate smile. It's an escrow. A very long escrow. We didn't want to tell you until the keys were in hand. Then why did you tell me she was moving in last week? Grandpa asked. Silence. We pulled up to 42 Elm Street. It was a beautiful Victorian with a wrap-around porch. Exactly the kind of house I had dreamed of owning since I was a little girl. But there was a problem. A very big problem. There was a blue minivan in the driveway. And on the porch, a woman was watering hanging baskets of petunias. There was a tricycle on the lawn. It looks occupied for a house in escrow, Grandpa said. He opened the car door before the vehicle even came to a full stop. Dad, wait. My father scrambled out, trying to grab Grandpa's arm. Don't bother the current tenants. It's rude. Let's go get coffee and discuss the paperwork. Grandpa shook him off with surprising strength. He marched up the walkway, his cane clicking rhythmically against the pavement. I followed, my heart pounding. Grandpa walked right up to the woman on the porch. Good afternoon, madam, Grandpa said politely. I apologize for the intrusion. My name is Edward. I was under the impression my son was purchasing this home for my granddaughter. The woman looked confused, then wary. I'm sorry? We bought this house 3 months ago. We closed in April. From whom? Grandpa asked. From the previous owners, the Hendersons, she said. We've been living here for 6 weeks. It's definitely not for sale. Grandpa nodded slowly. Thank you. You have a lovely home. He turned around. The look on his face could have frozen lava. My parents were standing by the car, looking like 2 children caught standing over a broken vase. It wasn't termites, Grandpa said, walking back to them. And it wasn't escrow. You never made an offer on this house, did you? We intended to, Mom cried, tears starting to flow. We really did. But then life happened. The roof on our house needed fixing. And the car broke down. And we thought, why rush? Chloe is young. She likes her apartment. I hate my apartment, I said, my voice quiet but sharp. It has roaches, Mom, and I told you that. We needed the money. Dad shouted, finally snapping. Do you know how expensive it is to maintain our lifestyle? The club fees? The property taxes? You gave us the money to manage, Dad. We made an executive decision to invest it in our own property, to increase the family equity. You mean the Italian stone patio? Grandpa asked, pointing his cane at Dad's chest. You mean the solstice party? You mean the new Tesla I saw in the garage? It's all for the family. Dad argued, though he was shrinking under Grandpa's glare. We were going to pay it back. Eventually, when the market turned. You stole $400,000, Grandpa said. You stole a home from your own daughter so you could impress your friends with crab cakes and renovations. It's not stealing, Mom wailed. We're her parents. What's hers is ours. No, Grandpa said. What's mine was hers. And you took it. He looked at me. Get in the car, Chloe. Where are we going? I asked. Back to the party, Grandpa said grimly. Why? Dad asked, hope flickering in his eyes. To talk this out. To have a drink. No, Grandpa said. I'm going to make an announcement. And then I'm going to call the police. Police? Mom shrieked. You can't arrest your own son. Watch me, Grandpa said. The ride back was silent. Deadly silent. My parents were texting frantically again, probably trying to transfer whatever money they had left to an offshore account. When we got back to the party, the music was still playing. The guests were still laughing. They had no idea that their hosts were about to be destroyed. Grandpa walked straight to the DJ booth. He pulled the plug on the music. The sudden silence made everyone turn. Excuse me, everyone, Grandpa shouted. His voice was strong, commanding. I hate to ruin the mood, but this party is over. Dad, don't. My father rushed toward him, but Grandpa held up a hand. My son, Dave, and his wife, Linda, seemed to have funded this lovely evening and their beautiful new patio with money that did not belong to them. Grandpa announced to the crowd of wealthy neighbors. They embezzled $400,000 from a trust meant for their daughter's first home. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I saw Mrs. Higgins, the neighborhood gossip, cover her mouth. I suggest you all leave, Grandpa continued. Unless you want to be here when the authorities arrive to discuss grand larceny and fraud. People didn't wait. They put down their drinks. They grabbed their purses. Within 2 minutes, the backyard was empty. My parents stood in the middle of their expensive, empty patio, looking destroyed. You happy? Dad spat at me. You ruined us. Over a house. No, Dad, I said, tears finally spilling over. I didn't ruin you. You ruined me. You let me struggle while you spent my future on ... this. I gestured to the stone floor. We're done, Grandpa said. Dave, give me your phone. And the keys to the safe. Now. Or what? Dad challenged, trying to muster one last scrap of arrogance. Or, I cut you out of the will completely, Grandpa said. Right now, you're just facing jail time. Keep pushing me, and you'll face poverty too. Dad handed over the phone. Grandpa opened the banking app. He scrolled. He checked the balances. Then he looked up. His face pale. It's worse than I thought, Grandpa whispered. Chloe, come here. I walked over and looked at the screen. The account balance was negative. Where is the rest? Grandpa asked, his voice trembling. The renovation didn't cost $400,000. Where is the rest of the money? Dad looked at the ground. Mom started sobbing uncontrollably. Gambling? Grandpa asked. Crypto, Dad whispered. I thought I could double it. I lost it all. You lost it all, Grandpa repeated, his voice barely a whisper. You gambled your daughter's home on imaginary coins. It was a sure thing, Dad shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. I was going to double it. I was going to buy her a mansion, Dad. I wanted to be the hero. You didn't want to be a hero, I said, my voice cutting through the humid air. You wanted to be rich. You used my future as your casino chips. Mum grabbed Grandpa's arm. Edward, please. We can fix this. We can take out a second mortgage. We can sell the cars. Just don't call the police. Think of the family reputation. Grandpa pulled his arm away as if her touch burned him. The reputation is dead, Grandpa said. And as for the second mortgage, you can't take one out. Why not? Dad asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. Because I own the lien on this house, Grandpa revealed. Did you forget? When you bought this place 10 years ago, I loaned you the down payment. I hold the note. And the contract says that if you engage in any criminal activity regarding family assets, I can call the loan due immediately. He tapped his cane on the Italian stone patio. I'm calling the loan due, Dave. Right now. Pay me the $200,000 you owe me on this house, plus the $400,000 you stole from Chloe. That's $600,000. Do you have it? Dad stared at him. You know I don't. Then I am foreclosing, Grandpa said calmly. And I am pressing charges for the theft. You are going to lose everything. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Grandpa hadn't been bluffing. He had texted his lawyer, who called the precinct. Watching my parents being handcuffed in their own backyard, in front of their half-eaten ribs and expensive grill, was surreal. Mum was wailing about her social standing. Dad was silent, looking at the ground. As the officer guided Dad into the cruiser, he looked at me. Chloe, he pleaded. Tell him to stop. We're your parents. We fed you. We clothed you. And then you robbed me, I said softly. You let me live in a place with roaches while you built a patio. You didn't treat me like a daughter. You treated me like a bank account. I turned away. I didn't watch the car drive off. The legal fallout was swift. Grandpa's lawyers were sharks. My parents pleaded guilty to fraud to avoid a long prison sentence, that they still got 2 years in minimum security, that the real justice was financial. Grandpa foreclosed on their house. He sold it. He sold the Italian stone, the massive grill, the Tesla, and Mom's jewelry. He liquidated their entire life. After paying off the debts and legal fees, there was exactly $450,000 left. Grandpa handed me a check 3 months later. We were sitting in a park eating ice cream. Here, he said, it's your house money, plus a little extra for pain and suffering. I looked at the check. It was enough to buy the Victorian on Elm Street. It was actually back on the market. The family who lived there had moved for work. I can buy it, I whispered. I can actually buy it. You can. Grandpa smiled. But there's one more thing. What? Your parents get released in 18 months, Grandpa said. They will be homeless. They have no savings, no assets, and bad credit. I stiffened. I'm not letting them live with me, Grandpa. I know, he chuckled. I wouldn't let you. But I did secure housing for them. I felt it was ... poetic. He handed me a set of keys. They looked familiar. What are these? These are the keys to your old studio apartment behind the laundromat, Grandpa said. I've prepaid the rent for 6 months. When they get out, that's where they're going. The roaches are still there, by the way. I checked. I stared at him. Then I started to laugh. I laughed until I cried. You're terrible, I said. I'm just... He winked. I bought the house on Elm Street. It needs work, but it's mine. My name is on the deed. Nobody can take it from me. I visit my parents sometimes. They are out of prison now. They live in the studio. Dad works at the laundromat out front, folding other people's clothes. Mum complains about the noise and the smell of detergent. Last week, Mum asked me if she could come stay in my guest room just for a weekend to escape the heat. I looked at her, sitting on the futon in the cramped room where I spent 5 years struggling. Sorry, Mom, I said. The guest room is currently under renovation. I'm putting in Italian stone. I walked out to my car, a new SUV, paid for in cash, and drove home. My house isn't just a building. It's a monument to the fact that I survived them. And every time I walk through the front door, I thank Grandpa Edward for asking the one question that changed everything. Do you like your new house? Now, finally I can answer. Yes, I love it. If you loved watching Chloe and Grandpa Edward serve absolute justice, smash that like button. And here is a question for you. If your parents gambled away your life savings, would you let them be homeless? Or would you help them when they hit rock bottom? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of karma served cold.